Flooding is one of the most devastating natural disasters, often leaving behind a trail of destructions and health challenges. In Maiduguri, the recent floods have not only displaced families and destroyed property worth millions of naira, but also raised significant concern about the health risks associated with standing water, poor sanitation, and the spread of waterborne diseases. The focus for the program on managing health risk that comes with flooding, as it were. The affected communities are working to rebuild and see how to cope with health challenges. That is now a priority in order to prevent secondary crises. As we take a closer look at the flood's impact and explore the strategies being implemented to protect the health and well-being of the affected population, our guests will educate us on the health challenges associated with floods and what to do to mitigate, in the next couple of minutes. Welcome to Nigeria Today. I am your carrier, Clinton. Thanks for joining us. Joining us in the studio is Dr. Isaac Akuma Ebuja. He's a public health specialist. You're welcome to Nigeria Today.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased to be here.
And also joining us via Zoom all the way from Borno State is Professor Baba Malam Ghana. He's the Commissioner of Health and Human Services, Borno State. You're welcome to Nigeria Today.
Good evening, viewers, and thank you for having me.
Okay, I will start with you, Dr. Iwoja. You say, of course, we know of the flood situation in Maiduguri and, of course, other parts of Nigeria. So now we're talking about the health risk associated with these floods. Now, what are the immediate health risks posed by the flooding, especially the recent one in Maiduguri, and of course, in terms of looking at, what of these waterborne diseases?
Well, the most important one is diarrhea. Waterborne diseases generally, but in this case, diarrhea is of great importance because the water is contaminated. It is not just one source of water. I think almost all sources of water in Maiduguri at this point are contaminated. So there's a concern for that. People could come down with acute diarrhea. You recall that recently there was a cholera outbreak. This is the kind of situation that can give rise to cholera again, and we hope that that doesn't happen. Reptiles are coming out of their hiding places, and they can bite people, snakes, alligators, lizards. They pose threat to health. Children could come down with rashes, and that's a possibility of a health problem. People who are allergic to a lot of things, this kind of situation can provoke allergy too. They have to be careful. Children in particular, babies, will be exposed to very cold weather, which is not good for them. So they need to be properly wrapped and kept warm. Children should be kept away from playing. You know that anytime there's water, for children it's a chance to swim. And no matter how much you try to keep them away, even in the face of this disaster, they will still go and play. So the caregivers have to watch for that and keep them away from water. They have to make sure that all sources of drinking or any form of water that will be used, especially for drinking, are treated, that nobody drinks raw water. When I say treated, it could be treated with chlorine. They could boil the water, boil it very well, let it cool, and then they can drink. I know that people complain about boiled water, that it doesn't have very good taste. That's true, but at this point, we're not looking at taste, we're looking at safety. So people should try and they put up with that and boil their water before they drink. They should listen to health officials who are going around giving instructions, telling people what to do. Hopefully, there are relief officers there giving one form of assistance or another. They should try to comply with them.
Okay.
People should move away from where there is a chance of very extreme cold weather.
I will have to stop you here, Doc, so that the commissioner will tell us some of the things that have been done in Borno State. So, Prof, how is the local government and health authorities and even the state government responding to mitigate these health risks that Doc has reeled out?
Thank you very much for asking that question. This is a devastation of very large magnitude, which we have not experienced in the past. As a result, we have started, we took actions immediately. Dr. Egboja was quite right in terms of the diseases that he mentioned, such as diarrhea diseases. But one that he mentioned is the fact that the flooding also affected our zoo animals, wild animals such as crocodiles and snakes escaped, through the water, and as a matter of fact, some people were bitten by the snakes. So it's a very important issue. Now, the issue of sanitation or getting the water, because all around water, said, but a drop to drink. Because if you drink that water, the risks that enumerated are extremely high. So there to water, some parts city.
We seem to have a little bit of challenge, network challenge there. So we'll come back to the commissioner when the network is a little bit better than what it is right now. Now, Doc, he mentioned something that's very important. The animals, talking about snakes, the crocodiles that were let loose from the zoo, and of course some were beaten by the snakes. So even when you were reeling out the diseases, you didn't really think of this this aspect. So how can we handle this particular issue?
Yeah, I mentioned that reptiles will be on outside everywhere, and the risk of being beaten by them is very high. The way to handle it is to be careful. There is no way you would know where a snake is inside water.
How careful can you be in this case?
Well,
when everywhere is flooded.
As careful as you can. To tell you the truth, the situation in Maiduguri is really pathetic because people are helpless. The water level is high, and it is not only in one part of town, in which case you would say, let the people in the affected side or part move hurriedly to the other side. It's more or less the whole town, and the level of the water is so high that children are almost submerged. Adults are up to knee or waist level, and it is not easy. Even when I talked about boiling water, it is almost theoretical. Where are you going to find firewood? Where are you going to find gas to cook? A lot of kitchens are flooded. A lot of houses are flooded. Maybe the best remedy at this point might be to use chlorine in treating their water and to filter any water that is for drinking so that they minimize the damage that could be caused. Now, he mentioned, and I would want to reiterate it, that toilets, pipes, sanitation sources have all been contaminated. So there is no physical safety, health-wise, if you want to put it that way, there's a possibility of one problem or another. I mentioned allergy, for example. People are going to come up with all kinds of rashes because of the type of water that is rubbing on their bodies, especially children.
Okay, I will have to stop here so that Prof will come back and finish up, what he was saying. And also, along with that, you tell us how, flooding has impacted access to clean water and sanitation facilities, because Doc mentioned that, water, clean water, boiling water, but of course he said it's not possible at this point. We're talking about using chlorine. And what measures are in place to address these issues?
Thank you very much. We have swung into action as soon as this happened, as we envisage this will come its ugly head. So we have created 18 internally displaced persons camps, and in these camps where we now relocate people to these camps where they can stay in roofed accommodations, and we've arranged feeding in these 18 camps. Some of the camps have got about 40 to 50,000 people, and some have got only about 10,000. And we have also dug latrines where we feel that those existing ones are inadequate, so that we could be able to handle them. Occasionally, we face the problem of open defecation, as a result of which we have teams that go around where they dig and then bury such defecations and fumigate the places in order to prevent outbreak of diseases, which my colleague has already alluded to, such as diarrheal diseases and cholera. So, and we also make sure that the food that is given to them, to the people in the IDP camps, are well prepared by staff who are conversant with hygiene and are using safe water in order to do the cooking of all the foods available. So these are some of the measures we have taken, and we've also set up health facilities within each camp. And these camps does have qualified people who will attend to the people in the IDP camps. Occasionally, certain things crop up. For example, yesterday, we had 5 deliveries. 5 women gave birth in one of the camps. So these are things that, you have to prepare on the hop instead of well in advance. But having said that, now we are arranging antenatal clinics. In one particular clinic where the number is high, we have 2 antenatal clinics, which is running concurrently. And therefore, we can be able to deal with problems as such. And let's not forget that this floods leads to post-operative stress disorder. In fact, you can see the faces of some of these people who have been grossly traumatized by this unexpected event. And therefore, we have gathered a mental health team which will now attend to such problems, so that people can be treated at the very beginning in terms of mental issues. So it's a beehive of activities going on in our camps, and we go around these camps on daily basis. So there are specific people assigned and given specific camps to be in charge of the camps, and they report back. We have I've moved my office to the Public Health EOC, or Emergency Operations Center, where we work together or in conjunction with our partners such as WHO. As a matter of fact, the rep for Nigeria has visited Maiduguri already, and we have been working together to ensure that the lives are saved, and whatever equipment or medications we needed made available. One big problem we have had is that the place where we store our vaccines with a cold chain was totally and completely submerged in such a way that, it came up to the neck, and therefore, these vaccines are no longer safe. So we have already spoken to our next door neighbor, Yobe State, where they will be helping us with vaccines. And we have actually commenced vaccination, because one big problem that we anticipate we will have is that, we'll have infections, and this may include, other infection, measles, very common, because we are putting in people in crowded places. It's not the same as their own homes, and therefore risks of infections are high. And therefore we have commenced vaccinating children, especially under 5. So all this is going on at the same time, and we have not mentioned one of the biggest risks of flooding, which is drowning. People do drown and die, and we have actually had to use the fire brigade services to rescue some of the victims of the flood, because the water came suddenly, and as my colleague rightly mentioned, it was, up to their neck, adults' neck, and therefore they cannot, some of them cannot swim, and even if they do, the force of the water unbelievably was very torrential and very high, and therefore, they got stuck to the trees, or on top of the roof, and waited for rescue services. So now the state has acquired even canoes, motorized ones, so that, we can be going from one place to another, because if you like, the state has been segmented, the capital has been segmented into different parts, and we have problems because our hospital.
Thank you very much, Prof. We'll come back to you. Quite a long list of activities going on there, Doc. Now, he's mentioned quite a lot of things there, because we're talking about how safe are the vaccines, and you just answered those questions. Now, in your opinion, Doc, what long-term strategies, can be implemented to prevent health consequences? We're not looking at the future, because now we already have one at hand, So how can we prevent these in the near future? Because the rains are still coming, and there are other places possibly that could be affected by these floods.
Yeah. One of the things he mentioned is very important. They are doing immunization. They're catching up with children who have not been immunized completely, especially against measles. The possibility of upper respiratory diseases and problems is there. So we have to think about that and worry about that. The possibility of malnutrition is there, because when you have diarrhea, it gives rise to malnutrition. And when you have malnutrition, it could also give rise to diarrhea. And since we are worrying about diarrhea in particular because of the flooding, we also have to worry about the nutritional status of the vulnerable group, especially pregnant women and children. We have to make sure that things are rationed based on needs, because it is not possible to serve everybody with all that they need. But some people are more vulnerable than others. People that have mentioned: children, pregnant women, old people, people that have a suppressed immune system, people that have chronic diseases. You have to look after them.
Yeah. Okay, now back to you, Prof. I know you've quite a lot of things have been done, to ensure that people are safe and healthy, even in their flood. Now, what lessons have you learned from this situation that you think you should, help you to prevent these kinds of situation in the future?
Thank you for this question, which is very important because this flooding is a spectrum of climate change. And increasingly, um, those of us in these parts of the country and parts of the world will continue to have torrential rains and flooding taking place. And therefore, it's imperative upon us Nigerians to address the issue of climate change. And for example, the dam that bursted, which has been supplying Maiduguri for drinking water since 1984, perhaps is therefore checks and balances should be done, and probably we would probably require a bigger dam now compared to what we have, so that the withholding capacity of work should be much higher than this water. So therefore, we should make use of, think outside the box and work on and follow the meteorological services in terms of floods, and therefore prepare ourselves like our dams, and also ensure pathways of water are respected. Because some people have built houses along pathways of the river, thinking that the water may never come. But this is not the case for us. Now we have seen this the most devastating floods in the life history of Maiduguri. And therefore, we want to work with all the relevant agencies, both local and federal, to see that this dam does not break down in the future and cause such devastation. One big example I need to highlight to your viewers is that the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital, which is now the largest teaching hospital in Nigeria, was completely submerged. In fact, the cancer center, which houses radiotherapy equipment, was completely submerged, completely. And these are millions of dollars worth of equipment. And the polio laboratory, which is used by WHO for samples, not only Borno State, but neighboring states and even neighboring countries, was also completely submerged. So these are really big lessons for us to learn, and we should properly, plan and adhere to the ways and means of preventing such floods from coming. And if it does come, then we are prepared. This water should have a defined channel that it can go away without coming into towns, because Maiduguri was submerged. At least 60 to 70% of Maiduguri was submerged. And the hospitals became, you cannot travel from one hospital to another. So it's a real problem, which, is...
Thank you very much, Prof. We really sympathize with the people and the government of Borno State. Quite a big devastation. You agree with me, Dr. Egbuja. I want to have your closing thought on these health issues as it relates to floods.
Well, I would want to conclude by extending my condolences to our brothers and sisters in Borno State. We're with them in prayer. And if there's anything that one could do, we will be very happy to do for them. From what Prof has said, I think they are on the right track. They are doing well. They should continue what they are doing and look out for as many cases as they find of diarrhea in particular, respiratory infections or diseases, and make sure that they document every health problem that they come across.
Thank you very much. With that, we'll wrap up today's episode of Nigeria Today. A very big thank you to Professor Baba Malam Ganna, the Commissioner of Health and Human Services, Borno State. Thank you for coming. Thank you. And also, thank you to Dr. Isaac Akuma Egbuja. He's a public health specialist. Thank you so much for your time and your contribution. And thank you for always being part of the program. Remember, Nigeria Today is every weekday at 7:30 p.m. on Nta News 24. You can also watch a repeat at 10 p.m. tonight, and other episodes on www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. I am Ikaria Clinton. Goodbye.